Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. Prince William ends financial aid to Camilla's family after shocking revelation of her ex-husband. Recent reports from people close to the royal family say that the British monarchy is going through a very bad and worsening internal crisis. This is because Prince William, the Prince of Wales, made the shocking and unprecedented decision to cut off all financial support to the extended family of his stepmother, Queen Camilla. These stories say that the decision was made after a secret audio tape that was said to be from Andrew Parker Bowles, the Queen's ex-husband, was made public. People say the recording makes a lot of really bad claims regarding the Queen's finances and personal goals. People who know say that the tape's contents forced the Prince of Wales to act quickly and strongly, which caused a huge rift in the royal family and raised urgent issues about the institution's moral standing and long-term viability. An audio clip that originally surfaced via unauthorized and informal routes and then quickly spread to worldwide media networks was the direct cause of this disturbance. It is said that the tape is a part of a personal memoir that Mr. Parker Bowles was writing for his kids, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. A voice in the recording, which is said to be Mr. Parker Bowles, tells a very personal, critical, and retrospective story of his marriage to Camilla Shand and her later relationship with Prince Charles. Many people have known about the affair between Charles and Camilla for a long time, and it has been the subject of a lot of public attention. However, the specific charges and the tone of the recording are said to go beyond what has been known before bringing up new claims that could have serious consequences for the institutions involved. According to transcripts and other accounts about the tape, Mr. Parker Bowles describes Queen Camilla not only as a love partner, but also as a smart and savvy actress. The recording tells a story that shows her motives going far beyond her personal feelings for the future king. Instead, it shows her as someone who ran a long-term campaign to gain power and, most importantly, financial power and advantage for herself and her associates. This accusation changes the way people think about the couple's relationship by implying that a planned project of financial integration inside royal systems went along with and maybe even guided their personal union. The most severe charges are that a complicated network of financial instruments was set up, supposedly including offshore trusts, shell businesses, and charity organizations that weren't very clear about where their money was coming from. In simple terms, offshore trusts are legal arrangements where trustees hold assets often in places outside of the person's main country of residence. Shell companies are businesses that may not do any real business, but can be used to hold assets or send payments. Charitable foundations are usually used for charitable work, but they can also be set up in ways that make it hard to find out who the beneficiaries are or where the money came from. The recording as reported suggests that such structures were purpose-built and carefully maintained over many years, with several interlocking objectives to protect certain assets associated with the then Prince of Wales from public or governmental scrutiny, to administer or conceal private debts that might otherwise have created reputational embarrassment for the Crown, and to create a system of financial patronage that would channel recurring benefits to the Queen's family members and close allies. The leaked audio reports say that these arrangements were not just temporary or opportunistic. They were described as forming a long-lasting institutional lever that would be hard to remove or untangle without causing major financial and reputational problems. The recording reportedly features a stark line of commentary. The Kingdom The Voice is quoted as saying rests on a delusion which summarizes the recording's main point, that the outward appearance of monarchical unity and stewardship may hide complicated self-protective financial structures that are fundamentally at odds with what the public expects in terms of honesty and openness. The revelation of this private testimony caused a quick and strong chain of events. At first, the recording was only spoken about in encrypted internet forums and niche podcast communities, which are places where dubious information typically first shows up. From such places, the story quickly spread to major news channels, including TV stations, national newspapers, and worldwide internet platforms, which spread the claims and the audio's substance to people all over the globe. This speed of spread turned what might have been a private family fight into a worldwide controversy in only a few hours. The royal household suddenly found itself in a crisis of public relations and governance and had to go on the defense to deal with headlines and news stories that may have damaged public faith. Reports say that Prince William's response was particularly quick and unyielding. People who know the prince well say that there was a sense of urgent need at Kensington Palace as he summoned his most trusted legal, financial, and personal advisors to talk about what the leak meant right away. The first thing this inner team had to do was check to see if the recording was real. This usually involves technical forensic analysis of the audio and checking the details of the situation. The second thing they had to do was look into the serious financial claims made in the tape. The goal of this investigation was to find out whether there was any proof that the Queen's family had been getting long-term and secret financial benefits from royal coffers. There were said to be two different lines of advice that came up inside the prince's advisory group. One group, made up of orthodox courtiers and lawyers who don't like taking risks, called for caution. Their main point was that a quick and public fight might do more harm than good. For example, rebuttals that focus on the headlines could make the accusations seem worse, and a highly publicized fight could change how people see the monarchy without necessarily addressing the underlying issues. These consultants said that a planned approach of strategic quiet, together with carefully controlled private denials and behind-the-scenes explanation, may let the initial excitement fade away. This is a familiar pattern in media cycles, when focus often changes swiftly to subsequent issues. On the other hand, a different set of advisors pushed for immediate action. They said that in today's media world, lengthy periods of quiet are often seen as a way to avoid answering questions, and that not addressing the claims would give critics and pundits influence over the story. This perspective underscored the symbolic significance of openness and responsibility, especially in cases involving financial integrity. These advisors said that the prince, as the heir apparent and protector of the crown's future legitimacy, couldn't let doubts go unanswered. They argued that taking decisive action would be better for the institution in the long run, even if it meant short-term problems. It has been said that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was heavily engaged in these talks. She told her husband not to make any choices while he was angry or seeking revenge, but she also stated that a final answer was needed to restore public trust. People who know her say that her advice was a compromise between being careful and knowing that being indecisive for too long would be a danger in and of itself. People who know how royal decisions are made say that her role in the process seems to have been to keep things balanced, pushing for thoroughness and thoughtfulness, but also aware of the need to intervene when institutional integrity was seen to be at risk. Due to the stress of these meetings, Prince William gave the go-ahead for a quick and thorough internal audit to find any and all money that could have gone to members of Queen Camilla's extended family. The Duchy of Cornwall was the main focus of this examination. It is the large landholding and other assets that the prince inherited when his father became king, as the report says. To put things in perspective, the Duchy of Cornwall has traditionally given money to the Prince of Wales to pay for his public charitable and personal activities. It includes a portfolio of land holdings, investments, and property interests that are managed by professional personnel. The audit was supposed to look at payments, contracts, and spending throughout the duchy and any other royal accounts that the prince was in charge of. The main goal was to find money that could have gone to the Queen's family directly or indirectly. The private report that came out of this study included results that many people on the prince's staff considered very alarming. Auditors say they found a pattern of payments and financial help going to people who are related to the Queen. They think these transactions are worth more than £5 million a year. The auditor's report talked about a network that moved money through a number of channels that seemed legitimate, such as charitable retainers contracts for property maintenance on homes that weren't officially recognized as Crown-owned scholarships, and other forms of educational assistance given to distant relatives and consulting or advisory fees paid to friends. The auditors did not find evidence of simple thievery. Instead, they found evidence of a long-term, carefully planned distribution of advantages that was set up to be less visible to the public. One important finding in the dossier was that even if the arrangements didn't break any laws, they were made in a way that wasn't clear and might be seen as creating a big conflict of interest. In other words, just because individual payments were made in accordance with the law didn't mean that the larger moral issue of whether such transfers were fair, reasonable, or in line with current standards of responsibility for public persons and institutions was not raised. Some people thought that the lack of transparency, the fact that benefits were given out repeatedly, and the fact that legitimate expense categories were used as cover all pointed to a system that was meant to work below the level of regular scrutiny. This would give long-term financial support to a specific group of people connected to the Queen. When informed of what was going on, Prince William is said to have come to a clear conclusion: the pattern needed to be fixed right now. He signed an internal order late at night after talking with his closest advisors for a long time. The order was meant to take effect right away. People who know what the command said say it was clear, concise, and operationally exact. It told Queen Camilla's extended family to stop all types of financial help stipends and indirect payments right away. In the language of insiders, this choice was a clear and public rejection of the purported financial network. It was a conscious decision to prioritize institutional integrity and the perceived long-term stability of the monarchy above the established internal compromises that had traditionally dictated the distribution of royal resources. By drawing this line, the prince made it clear that he thought that open management of the Crown's money was an important part of its future success. To fully understand how serious the prince's alleged activities are, we need to look at them in the context of the lengthy and controversial history of the relationships that are at the center of the current problem. The contemporary tale of King Charles III and Queen Camilla is a storyline that has developed over more than 50 years and has perpetually captivated and provoked public interest and debate. When they first met in the early 1970s, Charles was a young royal and Camilla was a socially prominent debutante. They clearly had a strong and lasting connection, but the rules of the time and royal customs meant that it didn't turn into a normal courtship or marriage right away. Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles, an army commander with his own group of aristocratic friends in 1973. They had 2 children, Tom and Laura, and the Parker Bowleses were well known in the social world of the period. The eventual end of Charles's marriage to Lady Diana Spencer and the public disclosure of his long-term relationship with Camilla were 2 of the most destructive and powerful events in British public life in the late 20th century. The affair and the media publicity that followed it had a big role in the demise of both Charles and Diana's marriage. Camilla was often seen as the disruptive third party in the story. During that period, most people felt sorry for Diana. Her terrible death in 1997 made people much more attached to her and made it very hard for Camilla to go back in the public eye. For a long time, Camilla was a private person, and the way the institutions reacted to her position was carefully planned public relations work that attempted to improve her image in a manner that would please both the monarchy's supporters and the general public. The restoration took place slowly and on purpose. The technique used by royal advisors and public relations experts might be called a gradual and controlled reintegration. This included carefully planned media appearances, regulated messaging, and the development of a public image that focused on duty and loyalty instead of personal ambition. This method, which is sometimes spoken about in more general terms as a long-term image management strategy, led to a civil marriage between Charles and Camilla in 2005. The marriage was quiet and low-key compared to other royal events, but it was the official start of Camilla's time in the royal family's senior ranks and the granting of the Duchess of Cornwall title. It was the end of a long process of private talks and public positioning. It was never easy for the following generation, Prince William and Prince Harry, to accept Camilla into their family life. The princes officially said they had a good working relationship with their stepmother, but it seems that things were more complicated, and there were still resentments because of the tremendous emotional changes they had gone through as children. Prince Harry's book Spare came out in 2023 and reopened some of those scars for the world to see. In it, he claimed, among other things, that Camilla had leaked material to the press to make herself seem better. In this light, the allegations against Mr. Parker Bowles in the leaked video cannot be seen in isolation. They build on and make stronger stories that were already there about competition, treachery, and the search for power inside the palace's inner circles. The charges in the audio add a potentially damaging element to the public account by implying that Camilla's path was less about romantic perseverance and more about a long-term effort to gain power via money. They change the way the story is told from one in which a woman is slowly welcomed, despite past controversy, to one in which that lady is accused of planning a strategy to gain material dominance. This new way of looking at things might change how people see things in a manner that makes it harder for families to get along and for institutions to keep their power. The choice that Prince William made has had immediate and far-reaching effects for the royal family's internal unity. According to sources, the decision to stop payments that are said to be connected to the Queen's extended family has divided the household into several groups and seriously hurt King Charles's carefully crafted public image of togetherness that he has tried to project throughout his reign. The king is said to be in an extremely difficult situation at the heart of the argument. He has to choose between his personal allegiance to his wife and his public obligation to support his successor and protect the monarchy's institutional integrity. Official remarks from Buckingham Palace have been very careful. A short message said, "His Majesty retains full confidence in both the Queen and the Prince of Wales." This wording was meant to seem neutral, but since it was so carefully vague, it just made the gap between them seem worse. People who are close to the king say he is very upset and unable to act politically as he tries to bring together two viewpoints that insiders say are becoming more and more irreconcilable. In contrast, Queen Camilla is said to have pulled out of public events while putting up a planned legal and media defense. Her lawyers have written public responses that call the recording's claims selective, subjective, and materially false. This is meant to attack the credibility and motivation behind the claims without getting into a full public litigation strategy at this early stage. People close to her have started a quieter campaign to inform sympathetic journalists and allies about how unfair and impulsive Prince William's action seems to be. They are suggesting that the prince's decision is a personal overreach that could hurt the crown's broader interests. Friends and longtime acquaintances of the Queen talk about how strong she is, saying that her personality mixes the ability to be strong with the need to protect her reputation. The dispute has had a big effect on how people feel and talk about civic issues. Social media rapidly became a beehive of dispute with hashtags like Royal Rift and Camillagate trending on several platforms. This made the raw accusations and the emotions they caused even louder. Polls taken just after the news came out apparently showed a significant drop in general public faith in the monarchy, at least for a short period. At the same time, there was a significant rise in positive feelings about Prince William personally. The public reaction fits a larger trend. Even if people are tired of all the scandals, many seem to see the prince's attitude as a demand for responsibility, which fits with what people want from public ethics and financial openness these days. This division has shown up in public places in real life. There have been protests outside royal homes. Strong royalists have tried to protect the institution's honor, while Republican activists and opponents have used the situation to call for major changes or even the extinction of the monarchy. The phrase "expose the trusts" has become a rallying cry for those who want the Crown to fully disclose its financial dealings. This phrase sums up the larger need for more transparency concerning the sometimes murky relationship between private wealth and public authority. The crisis's effects are not limited to the UK. The internal royal battle has had effects that go beyond national boundaries, affecting the constitutional and symbolic ties that the Crown has with other nations, especially those in the Commonwealth. The scandal has made long-standing debates about whether hereditary monarchy is appropriate for modern government even worse in the 14 Commonwealth realms, where the monarch is officially head of state. In these realms, the monarch has mostly ceremonial roles, but also serves as a symbol of constitutional continuity. In countries where people have wanted a republic for a long time, this event has given supporters of constitutional reform fresh energy. For example, in Australia, lawmakers who have long wanted a republic used the incident as proof that the monarchy doesn't fit with contemporary ideals of public transparency and government. People started calling for a referendum to rethink the country's constitutional arrangements more loudly. Supporters presented it as an issue of national sovereignty and civic integrity. In Canada, where republicanism has been a slow-moving trend in politics, public personalities and observers exploited the debate to call for a faster elimination of royal emblems from public life and a less ceremonial role for the Crown. In Jamaica, Belize, Antigua, and Barbuda, and other Caribbean countries, political leaders and activists have seen the crisis as further proof that the countries should move toward republican systems of government. For these countries whose constitutional ties to the Crown often come from colonial-era agreements, the accusations are not just personal scandals. They are also arguments that being linked to a distant hereditary monarch is becoming less and less compatible with modern ideas of national identity and democratic self-governance. The reaction from the media throughout the world has also changed the way people talk about it. In the past, coverage of Queen Camilla's public image was framed as a long arc of personal recovery. Now, journalists and analysts in foreign publications are focusing on the complicated structure of royal finances. There are more and more explainers and analytical articles that try to make trusts less mysterious, map out putative corporate webs, and think about the bigger constitutional issues that come up when money flows into a supposedly public institution in a way that isn't clear. This has turned the story from a private family fight into a global discussion about governance transparency and whether hereditary institutions can work in the 21st century. The incident has brought up important constitutional issues concerning authority precedent and how the institution holds people accountable in addition to its image and appearance. Constitutional academics and royal historians have stressed that the prince's unilateral choice, if reported correctly, is a new use of power by a Prince of Wales that goes against the usual way things are done. Some analysts are worried that giving the royal family the power to make discretionary and political decisions about how money is distributed might lead to a situation where people use their financial power to settle personal scores or push competitors out of the way. The Crown's historical stability has depended on a number of unspoken agreements and customs. For example, certain allowances, patronages, and financial arrangements were made between the family and its counselors in ways that kept the public image intact and the group together. Prince William's forceful action against a powerful member of the royal household upsets this balance and raises uncomfortable questions. Will future successors be able to use their financial power to control or punish family members? Could the way royal money is given out turn into a political tool that hurts the monarchy's nonpartisan and symbolic nature? People have even thought about the worst possible scenarios. People have been talking about abdication for a long time as a hypothetical situation or a historical oddity. However, the present crisis is so bad that even the most unlikely options are being muttered about among palace observers. The fact that people are even talking about this shows how worried they are about the institution's ability to handle internal disagreement without breaking the Constitution. According to the reports, there has been a lot of talk within the palace about three main strategic paths ahead, each of which has its own major and unique risks. One group of advisors who want to change the royal family and are close to the Prince of Wales believes that the royal records should be opened up as never before. They want an independent outside audit of royal finances to be made public. Supporters say that this kind of openness would show a real commitment to accountability, and may, if done wisely, bring back public confidence by making the facts available for fair review. The negative is clear. A complete audit might uncover more unpleasant or complicated financial arrangements, which could lead to fresh scandals and violate the privacy of those whose funds are linked to the organization. Also, discoveries might lead to legal and political ramifications, which would put more pressure on the monarchy to make structural changes that they might not be able to handle. 2. Private mediation. A more conservative choice is to have a private mediated settlement behind closed doors. The goal would be to negotiate an agreement that brings the family back together, perhaps by carefully reinstating certain types of assistance under closer supervision and making a public proclamation of togetherness. This method aims to maintain institutional stability and prevent the disruptive consequences of prolonged public investigation. However, its main flaw is how people see it. If the settlement is revealed later, or if people become more cynical about secret deals, people may see the mediation as a cover-up, which would further damage confidence and support those who want more transparency. 3. Strategic stonewalling. The most passive way to deal with the situation is to stay out of it as much as possible and wait for it to blow over, trusting that the crown has always been strong and that people would go on. This strategy relies on the premise that the monarchy's symbolic capital will preserve it through cycles of controversy and on the fact that institutions tend to stay the same. The concern is that problems that aren't fixed will become worse, leading to further worries about openness and propriety, which might lead to an even worse catastrophe later when things are much more fragile. Reports say that Prince William is seen as a strong-willed person in this argument. People say that he sees his intervention not as a personal break, but as a painful but essential correction meant to safeguard the long-term health of the crown he is meant to lead. His admirers see him as a sign of a new generation of royal duties, a determination that the modern monarchy must meet today's ideals of honesty, transparency, and responsibility. On the other hand, his detractors say that what he is doing might upset an institution that needs balance, prudence, and continuity. They think that his approach is too strict and not sensitive enough to the complex political and personal relationships that keep the royal system going. The problem has sparked a discussion about what the crown means in a contemporary democratic democracy. The monarchy has survived civil wars, constitutional crises, abdications, scandals, and reinventions throughout the years. It hasn't broken down, but it has changed to fit the needs of each time period. The current controversy is a test of that adaptability. Will the House of Windsor be able to balance the need for more openness with the need to keep the monarchy's symbolic and unifying aspects, or will the internal divisions and public disillusionment lead to a decline that can't be stopped? The next several months will be very important. If the Crown decides to be more transparent and change its institutions, it may have to go through a difficult time of disclosure and adjustment, but in the end, it may have better foundations for the future. If it chooses to make discreet agreements or use evasive tactics, it runs the danger of being hit by leaks and public doubt over and over again, which might make things worse. The royal family has to choose not only between competing personalities or groups, but also between the rules that will regulate the connection between private interests and public authority in an institution that is both a family and a national symbol. The monarchy's future may hinge more on establishing a new consensus about openness, accountability, and the ethical management of the privileges associated with its distinctive constitutional role, rather than just preserving historical rights. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.